welcome to Algebra 1 lesson, this is lesson C, your fourth Algebra 1 lesson, lesson C in your book. So if you don't have your book out, go ahead and pause your video, get your book open to lesson C starting on page 14. All right, so today we're talking about volume. Woohoo, your favorite, right? No? Okay, well, that's all right. We are talking about volume today. It's a super important concept. Some of you guys have got it just like that. Some of you guys need a little more practice. So hopefully with today's explanation, you'll be a little bit more confident when you're doing problems with volume. But first, let's talk a little bit more about shapes, review a little bit more of our geometry. So we're going to talk about triangles today with our shapes. Triangles can be classified in different ways. The triangles are polygons. Polygons, by the way, are any shape that is made up of line segments that are all connected, they're closed. So a triangle has the least number of sides for a polygon because 3 sides is the smallest number of sides you can have and still all be connected. If you only have 2 sides, you can't connect to the other without either curving it or without putting them together. So a triangle is the polygon with the least number of sides. Okay, so our triangles can be classified. There's six different ways we can classify triangles. First is to classify triangles according to their angle size, and there's 3 classifications according to angle size. So the first one is a right triangle, That's any triangle that contains a right angle. The second one is an obtuse triangle, So that's any triangle that contains an obtuse angle. Now we've already talked about this before. We'll talk about it again a little later in our lesson, but remember that a triangle has a total number of 180 degrees. All 3 angles total 180 degrees. So that means that an obtuse angle, remember, is greater than 90 degrees. So you can only have 1 in a triangle. So if you have 1 obtuse angle, that means you have an obtuse triangle. If you were to have more than 1, then no matter what it was, if it was 91 and 91, it's more than 1 obtuse angle, 91 plus 91 is 182. So you can't possibly have more than 1 obtuse angle because that will be greater than 180 degrees. So 1 obtuse angle in your triangle. If all 3 of your angles are acute, so that means no right angle making it a right triangle, no obtuse angle making it an obtuse triangle, so all of its angles would be acute. That is an acute triangle. Makes sense, right? Okay, next are our triangles that are classified by their sides. If the size of all their sides are equal, equivalent is the word that we use for equal, remember, then it is an equivalent triangle. All the sides have the same measure. And remember, with triangles, if one side has the same measure as another, that means that their angles also have the same measure. So this side, its corresponding angle is over here. The measure of this angle is the same as this angle because this side is the same as this side. And this angle is the same as these 2 because its corresponding side is the same as the other 2. So that's an equilateral triangle. Next we have the isosceles triangle, Now an isosceles triangle, as you can see by these little marks, remember those hash marks? They mean that sides are equal. It shows that you have 2 equal sides, only 2, not 3. And their angles that are opposite them are also equal. So that's an isosceles triangle. And the last type of triangle is a scalene triangle, And in a scalene triangle, none of the sides, none of the sides are equal in a scalene triangle, okay? Okay, great. So those are your types of triangles. Now, one more geometric term that I want to remind you of before we get into volume is a plane. A plane is just a flat surface. So all of these triangles are considered planar geometric figures because they all would fit on a plane. Now let's talk about volume. Volume has to do with three-dimensional figures. Now what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to stop this lesson as part 1 so that we can cortar it and you guys can go to part 2 and we'll talk about volume. Okay, so go to part 2 now.